It's such a pleasure to be back, and our journey's nearing the end. I do apologize, the videos are a little slow in getting up, but our journey is coming to a close here. And I hope that even if you, for some reason, aren't able to finish by Thanksgiving, I hope you do take the time to finish, because the Gospel of John is powerful, powerful stuff. We're talking about John chapter 13 today. Three huge things happen in this Gospel. First is that Jesus puts action to his commands. The greatest of you must be a slave to all, that the first shall be last and the last shall be first, that when you go to a party, take your seat at the foot of the table, not the head. Jesus really puts action, gives you a picture, which I hope is forever burned into your heart. And that is, Jesus doesn't, at the Passover supper, ask the disciples to serve him. Jesus doesn't demand that he be waited on head and foot. Rather, as the meal's about to begin, he bends down, he ties a towel around himself, and he does something which is even below a slave to do. And that is, he washes the disciples' feet. And that really is a huge example. Because I think a lot of us live life saying, I want to lift myself up. A lot of us live life saying, how can I get ahead? What can I do to provide more? What can I do to make my name known? But what if the Church of God said, what can I do to raise somebody else up? What can I do to better someone's status? How can I serve someone who's been marginalized and weak and oppressed? What if the Church of God did that? Follow Jesus' example in John 13. It might not be washing feet. It might be serving the poor. It might be taking time to teach a kid how to play baseball whose father's left them. It might be time to go out and read to the elderly or spend time with the mentally challenged. Those are all great things, and there are many, many more. But the example here is something I think we as the body of Christ need to really strongly consider. Second, Jesus predicts Judas's betrayal. And this is pretty sticky, because this is one of God's own, one of his 12 close that he picked out, mind you, betraying him. And I don't necessarily know the logistics. I don't know if Satan caused this to happen. I don't know if Judas all along wanted to do this, or something clicked that said, hey, this is a good idea to betray the Son of God. But one thing I do know is that if somebody as close to Jesus as Judas Iscariot was could betray him, to turn his back on him, to hand him over to be arrested, sentenced, tried, and killed, somebody like that could do that. Be very careful. Be very careful what the world tells you. Be very careful what your thoughts tell you, your emotions tell you about Jesus. Because Judas Iscariot's example shows us that human beings have a very strong potential to do awful things to each other. So be very careful. Always evaluate, hey, I'm really experiencing some negative things toward the church, toward the people of God. What's going on? More than likely something deeper is going on. Make sure you address that. Judas's example is both powerful and very, very scary. And Peter's example, at the very, very final part of the chapter, Jesus predicts Peter's denial of him. That also is something that really, really bugs me. This shows Peter, the rock of the church. The Catholic Church says he's the first pope. Jesus promised in Mark 8 that Peter's going to be the one where he builds his church. Peter's got a really good reputation. But this is the moment when Peter really drops the ball, when Peter really, really fails. And I try to rationalize what's going on. Maybe Jesus didn't rise from the dead. Maybe Peter wasn't listening when Jesus said some of his prophecy. I'm not 100% sure why Peter did this. But here's one thing I think we can learn from Peter's example. And that is, if we're looking for a time, if we're looking for a moment when it's ever convenient to follow Christ, when it's ever easy to do so, when it's ever comfortable to follow Christ, if we want a time where we're never going to get stretched, pulled, maybe even bend us to the point of breaking, then Christianity is not the place to be. It really, really isn't. It's going to try you. It's going to stretch you. The rewards in the process are going to be far greater than the pain you go through. But I just want to say, if someone like Peter could deny Jesus, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. I hope we continue to learn. Unfortunately for Jesus, things are going to start to turn very negatively very quickly here. He's got some really powerful things to teach us in the upcoming chapters, and then we're going to learn a little bit about his death and resurrection. So until then, this is Brian Zen.